Hello, everybody. I have a lesson for you today that I found fairly important, and I thought that I would convey it in the best possible manner. And that is to take the role of an educator, something I don't do on a regular basis because, well, I'm not an educator. Although I have taught one or two classes for junior colleges in IT. I digress. Did you know that linear time is a social construct? Yes, indeed, it is a social construct. It is built to be tampered with, meddled with, and even traveled upon. And let me explain or um, give an example, maybe, of how that works. So, say that something happened in the past. It may have happened to you, may have happened to somebody else, may have happened to an entire nation of people, or it may have happened to the world. Something traumatic or sinister happened in some way. Well, you can use that as if it was modern day and then apply it to whatever you feel like. In fact, you could take that which has happened in the past and own it as if you are the perpetrator and said whatever. I see this coming out of the social justice camp a lot, probably because they also use postmodern philosophical reasoning to suggest that that's exactly what you can do. That linear time does not exist. It is a social construct. That we invented time, therefore time is relative to our experience. And if we want to experience what it was like to be a slave, for example, we can manifest that in our own real life experiences. We can claim the epithets of slavery because reasons. And those reasons would be that linear time is a social construct. It doesn't exist. It's a figment of our imaginations. That what happened to our ancestors hundreds of years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, happened to us as well. That it's all connected. That we are a result of that which did not improve. Or not improve, but maybe also decayed. And I found the use of relative social constructive linear time to be rather interesting, because then I could go back in my own history and pretty much use anything that I felt like, including history I don't even know about. I can just pull something out of my ass if I knew my genetic history, for example, that I could use against anyone else. Really, I could go down the history train and pick something and use it against somebody else. It sounds fun. I think we should do it. I think we should do it more often, in fact, because it would allow us to experience our historical difficulties in modern day life. This interesting conundrum that gives us linear time as a social construct would allow us to, I don't know, claim that Trump is modern day Hitler, even though he in no way behaves like Hitler did. But we are living in the Nazi regime with fascism again. Yes, yes, we could do that. Although we don't have gas chambers. We aren't jailing and disarming all of our minorities because they're minorities. Declaring them enemies of the people and murdering them in mass and burying them in mass graves. And I don't know, torching them in mass crematoriums. Yes. No, the great atrocity that makes us to the equivalent to the Nazis is things that aren't happening. Um, well, to a relative degree. I mean, the separation of families, for example. Yeah, clearly a Nazi tactic. That definitely happened. The Nazis did, in fact, separate children from their families, Jews from Jews, essentially, because they used the children as labor and just executed the parents. So clearly we're doing that. The parents are dead, and the children are now slave labor. Um, except it's not happening. They get sent to a family member, or the parents get sent back and the kid gets sent with them, if we can clearly identify that they are indeed their children. Because, human trafficking isn't a thing, apparently. And we can then execute all the people we've detained for crossing the border illegally. Because, all them Jews really wanted to get into Germany. It was definitely a mass migration into Germany because Germany was going up. It was awesome. It was a socialist utopia, just like Venezuela, Nicaragua, and half of this South America. Yeah, that works. Yeah, totally. Yeah, America is definitely like a Nazi regime. Uh, if we were to ignore linear time, basic history, and make everything a social construct. I mean, we can just dissolve that the pictures and the images that we've collected over the years of what happened in Nazi Germany, the relative information that we've collected from people that have lived through the concentration camps. Yeah, we can ignore that too. We can ignore all the documentation, all the video documentation of what happened in Nazi Germany, because it's relative. Black and white pictures, no less. I mean, if there's black and white, then it must also be in color, and therefore a part of modern day. Yes, that linear time does not exist. It's a social construct, meaning we can use it to our advantage to try and claim something that never happened to us as if it's happening today. Obviously, this is nonsense. I think I'll just stop now because it's kind of irritating to even think about. The one thing that we should take from history is a lesson. It's either one of two lessons. Don't do that thing, or do that thing more. The don't do that thing is don't be a fascist. That means don't go beating up people in the street because you disagree with their politics. Of course, we have a gang of anti-fascists being fascists, which is doing exactly that. It's amazing. Another thing that we shouldn't do, be communists or socialists. So the newly not elected, but the appointed Congresswoman of New York, who is going to be running in the primary, probably a bad idea to elect a full-blown socialist. She recently announced, yesterday, I believe, that economics is something that she's into. She's got a degree in economics after being a barmaid, which is fairly good, actually. I mean, if you can struggle through school not making anything like I did, then I applaud her for that effort. But then you go and get an economics degree, but you're a socialist? That's antithetical to your beliefs. Your economics degree is now worthless because you also are a socialist, which is Marxist philosophy. And economics, as studied today, is capitalist. Quite antithetical to each other. So your degree is worthless based on your own beliefs. That was good. But then again, linear time, it's not very important. Socialism's never been tried. The gulags never exist. The archipelago was written by a fraudster. Yes. I find that whole thing disturbing, that we would use linear time, distort pieces of the history that we have shared as a globe. I mean, all this history is human history. And then we'll just cherry pick stuff that fits our narrative and then try to use it as if it's happening today. What more of an absurd obsession to distorting linear time do you need? And then, as a final point, those that distort linear time usually also require you to go read history. I've had this argument thrown at me a few times. Go read a book. Go read history. You don't know what's going on. Well, we're reading the same history book, but clearly someone's not paying attention to words. It's it's amazing to me. Anyways, happy 4th of July to all the American people out there. I hope you enjoy your 4th, the day that we celebrate kicking Europe out, and from the looks of it, it was a very smart thing to do. Um, and we blow shit up. That's a good thing. Keep all your fingers and toes. Don't be stupid. Another part of linear time is knowing that explosives can be destructive. Therefore, don't hold them in your hand when they explode. It's usually a bad idea. Um, just saying, linear time is kind of important. And yeah, have a great 4th, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. It was kind of a fun thought experiment that I've been having for the last little while, trying to figure out how this linear time distortion actually works. And I was trying to get to the root cause of it, and essentially it's they're trying to use fragments of history to explain the present in order to make a point that the present's worse than history. Or it's history repeating itself would be a little bit more accurate. Unfortunately, that is not true. The situations are different. The leadership is different. The the system that's in place in the United States prevents such atrocity as Nazis and fascism. Although apparently some people want fascism because they join BAM or Antifa and claim that they're anti-fascists while they beat people up over political. I don't know how that works, to be a fascist yet you're anti-fascist, but oxymorons seem to be prevalent among this group. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a great 4th. Don't hurt anybody. It's usually a good idea.
No matter what you might like, nothing's going to change that.